Let me simply review this one item now. We have the first sovereign AI, or as you might say, the first Denmark when you look at Nvidia last night. I believe it's in Denmark. It's large. It has a connection to Nova Nordisk. But now, David, I'm heading to India. I'm not sure whether you are aware, but it's CNBC India in India. This anniversary is significant. Yes, I do. However, India has 1.4 billion. The stock is currently down, and there is a 3-day conference. On what is that about? One leads to the winners. Verve hasn't even been discussed on yet. And we will receive an opening bell, so we will be interrupted here. Are these stories being written by AI? We didn't get to AI, in Jensen today, who called upon AI? Hint for the quiz. Not mine, but a 10 o'clock show, because I'm upset about it. I don't know what you're doing, and I'm not following. Who among the big businesses this morning, not Tex Instruments, mentioned Jensen Huang and AI in reference to their collaboration that boosts sales, in my opinion? Carl, I have no idea. Do you have any guesses? Coca-Cola? Really? Quizzy James? On the 10Q, you'll most likely hear about that. Remember, they have a DTC plan, so they're attempting to figure it out. Look at the earnings, it won't be in your paperwork like this is all mine. That's all I'm attempting to say. But India had flaws. China was weak. In India, the monsoon season did cause a decline in sales. And that's actually what's happening. Are we now discussing Coke? Yes. What then? Yes. We put up, all right. However, Joe has had the correct perspective. He has been really optimistic about the AI winners, but he hasn't been particularly optimistic about the semiconductor industry as a whole, isn't he? Additionally, this is a wonderful microcosm of the topic we just discussed. Everyone is aware of the huge winners in the semiconductor industry, but there are also a number of businesses that are just not experiencing any growth because of the state of the global economy. And that's our possession. In the case of Nvidia, Joe made a really good decision. I mean, it's absurd to attempt to forecast that, so he's not looking 7 years into the future. However, he is likely looking 5 years into the future. Last night, we discussed that there is a lot of visibility for 25. The stock will eventually begin to discount that when visibility begins to decline on 26. The momentum is G at the moment, The conference call also covered the topic of extending your cooperation with Nvidia, which is something you've been putting a lot of effort into. What does that mean specifically for ServiceNow in the future? I want to know. How important is that collaboration with Nvidia to your company? Indeed, it's an amazing collaboration, and we've been in close communication with Nvidia about expanding that relationship for a time now. Co-developing native AI agents on the ServiceNow platform with Nvidia NIM Agents Blueprint is the new collaboration we discussed. And that's all about providing our clients with turnkey, unconventional AI agents. And the first use case we're starting with is a security vulnerability. And we're thrilled that our collaboration with Nvidia is just growing stronger. Well, Nvidia feels like one of the other pillars of our economy at the moment. This morning, Torsten's logout included a chart illustrating how Nvidia's market capitalization surpasses that of 5 of the 7 G7 nations. This tech name is over-indexed to index funds and retirement plans. Can the bull market that is so dependent on Nvidia continue to exist? You see, if you look at the S&P as a whole, more than 70% of its equities are still in long-term uptrends. Nvidia has been a significant player in the market this year, but we also need to acknowledge that it has been moving sideways since July until this most recent breakout, which is really a slight one. Additionally, you observe that other parts of the market were doing well, and despite Nvidia's erratic trading, the market surged to an all-time high. However, I do believe it to be a predictor of technology and semiconductors. Since technology accounts for almost 30% of the S&P overall, its participation is crucial. We still enjoy technology. Tech. In August, we improved our assessment of tech during the pullback. And I continue to believe that artificial intelligence is still the main theme of this bull market. I think you have to continue to assume that there is more to be done in the field of artificial intelligence if you think the bull market is still strong, which we do. It must thus probably take part. However, take another look at the financials, which are at an all-time high. Additionally, industrials were doing better until today. Even though these rates are rising, utilities, another area where we are weak, are doing fairly well. He said that foreign businesses shouldn't be allowed to come to the United States, borrow money, and manufacture chips here, including the majority of Nvidia's state-of-the-art GPUs. Naturally, he is referring to Taiwan Semiconductor, which manufactures around 90% of the advanced chips used worldwide. The U.S. Commerce Department is expected to award it more than $6 billion to construct and expand its Arizona factory. While strategists at Citi are arguing over the precise amount that tariffs will raise costs throughout the chip supply chain, Mizuho wrote last week that a Trump victory would be detrimental to Taiwan Semiconductor. Most likely, the latter is more important than the former. I believe this mean reversion trade has a probability associated with it. Look, I believe Meta's foundations are sound. Is it truly the mag with the finest performance? I suppose it most likely is. I'm not sure, most likely not with Nvidia. I don't cover some of the other names though. Nvidia is a fairly reliable company. However, except than that, you're correct. There are still a lot of unanswered questions. For example, Apple's prior remark perhaps competed with some of the good China sales reports this week due to the company's heavy focus on the negative. I believe that Apple is still receiving attention. Additionally, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang stated in a recent interview that he sees the company deploying 100 million AI agents in the future. The rivalry between Salesforce and Microsoft is currently being closely observed, particularly due to the vast amounts of enterprise data that both businesses own. Earlier this week, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella predicted that AI agents would eventually be just as commonplace as apps. Salesforce has previously introduced its agents via the digital help platform Agentforce. So, have we abandoned Intel? Well, we'll see. On Thursday, they report on. They disclose earnings. We'll see what they have to say, I suppose. However, it's obvious that Intel's core business is facing pressure. They are currently unable to rely on their own manufacturing and are losing market share. In actuality, they are outsourcing more, which has an effect on gross margins and other things. They therefore propose that they think their procedure is improving with time. It will make everything, amazing when they bring that volume back to the United States. We'll see, I suppose. They had a day a few months ago, where they were sort of laying out some goals for where they believe things could go in the future. It was really a 2030 tale, isn't it? Even if they are headed in the right direction, there is still a long way to go before we see things start to get better. Furthermore, we are now unsure of whether or not they are genuinely getting better. I suppose you should buckle up for Thursday. If nothing else, I'm sure it will be entertaining. Yes, Stacy, we won't be getting Nvidia for a while. Occasionally, though, I'm sure you hear this more than I do, that a small firm over here is working on a next-generation chip that will eventually disintermediate or push Nvidia to the side. In other words, how long do you anticipate their dominance will last? After all, there's always someone waiting. You do realize that this market is huge. It is absurd to think that there won't be anyone else vying for a piece of that pie. They are, of course. That being said, Nvidia has, over the course of 10 or 20 years, established their position in silicon, hardware, software, systems, and ecosystem, correct? Additionally, they have installed those moats. Thus, anyone attempting to enter, and I'm not referring to those who are unable to obtain small pieces. AMD and others are obviously receiving small amounts. However, you have to sort of break through those moats in order to be material in that market. Furthermore, it's an extremely challenging task.